much, Dr. Adewale. The theme for this panel is the shifting landscape of philanthropy and social investment, and what we've seen are essentially three different models of philanthropy, or in the case of what Tunji presented, cause marketing, which is social investment, actually. So I'd like to open the floor, and I'd like to open the floor by prefacing with some comments. One is that I think we need to provide enough room for different organizations to operate. Of course, organizations operate based on their values, the vision of the founders, and what change they are trying to bring about. So I don't think it's an either or, and certainly no model is the best. I think we have to start off with that. But as we look at how we work together, is there enough room for different organizations to operate and make impact? Because as one of the presenters said, the problems are just too diverse and too many for one organization to have the best approach. With those comments, I'd like to open the floor. And please help us make this session interesting. I have a feeling you all went to sleep. No, okay, that's good. Okay, so let me take some questions, please.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Chokumbodro Sharo from Owando. Mine is just a comment, actually. I think it has been a very good presentation. And what I'm thinking now is, apart from us being here, we're quite knowledgeable about CSR, we're knowledgeable about foundations, but we need to also educate the public, because there's so many buzzwords that are being thrown around here today. Impact investing, course marketing. Now, in terms of trying to market the Tony Elumelu Foundation or the Danjuma Foundation, we're going to confuse the public. And I think what this session highlights to me is that the practitioners in the CSR world, in the foundation world, we have to come together and put some guidelines. Let us know the people doing impact investing. Let us know the people doing foundation, and educate the people, because if we don't educate them, they'll think, oh, here they come again, trying to make money, but not really understanding why. I know we have a session today, this afternoon, about public-private partnership, but there's one key thing we're missing: private-private partnerships. It is quite key, because I do a lot of stuff. There's nothing wrong with me teaming up with an MTN foundation to assist me as well. But I think the last speaker said it extremely well. We as Africans, we love to have our own logo. We don't want to share with anybody else. But what we're actually trying to do is impact the society. It doesn't matter how you get there, it's to ensure that it's done. Thank you.
Thank you. Extremely important comments. I'll take two more. We're also aware of trying to make time for the other session. Okay, the lady with the mic, and then I'll come to...
Speaker, thank you very much for your good presentation. I was surprised you talked about the challenges, but you didn't mention challenges in terms of working with the government and what the government can actually do to make this work. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Okay, let me take two in the middle, then we'll give the panelists a chance. Let me take, I have to take one of the board members, I will, but let me take the gentleman right in the middle, and then I'll come to the front of the board member.
Good afternoon. My name is Babato. I spoke yesterday. The kite I flew didn't really click. I mentioned CSR Nigeria, and that is gathered from Dr. Adewole's presentation today. Everything Dr. Adewola, what I said yesterday, developing partnership, template, framework, and what Mr. Shari just said now on PPP boils down to what I said yesterday. Until we have a coordination and institutionalized that will do what? Tell us what we need, who will provide it, who are the stakeholders, government's role, corporate institutions' role. Until we do that, we can have the kind of impact that we want from CSR in Nigeria. I insist that there should have CSRs in Nigeria. It's one that people need to go to them, they provide information, and it will be like a rallying point. That's just my conclusion. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yes, please, the gentleman in front.
Good afternoon. My name is Kazim Abimbola. My question is in the area of one slide that Mr. Adeyinka showed earlier, which was with the UNICEF and Barcelona deal. Now, from the slide, I could see that that deal is no longer going to be in existence from July of this year. So my question is about dependency. Now, UNICEF enjoyed 1.5 million times 5 years. Now, unfortunately for UNICEF, Barcelona can sell that and have done for 30 million euros per year. I'll repeat that. So they got 1.5 million every year. That's what Barcelona paid UNICEF to have their logo on their shirt. So they got 1.5 times 5. Now, unfortunately, like I said, Barcelona can sell that for 30 million euro and have done so. Now, what happens to UNICEF is my question. Is there a deal that Barcelona could have struck with them if they could? And did they? I mean, I don't know if you have any comments on that.
Thank you. Let me give the panel a chance, and then we'll come back for one more round. Let me start with you.
Speaking to Kazim's question, is that, I mean, it was a very funny case. Normally, if I wear your logo, you pay me. But the team pays the organization whose logo they were wearing for 5 years, like you said. But now they have a new contract with a different organization, but they are still paying to UNICEF. And they would have the UNICEF logo at a different, less, it wouldn't be in front, it would probably be at the back, but they would still have the UNICEF logo. So that means that we're not running away from the principles that guided this, and this is still going on. I would also like to speak to the comment about companies coming together, PPP, on the other side. And I think that the responsibility lies with the companies to make that happen. Our corporates tend to have very huge egos, which sometimes actually is bigger than the objectives which they want to achieve. And where you have two different organizations working in two different sectors, nothing stops them from coming together. Actually, what happens is if you had 20 million naira, you could extend what you wanted to do by another 10 million or another 20 million working with the other organization. The responsibility lies with the corporates. It doesn't have anything to do with government, and like you rightly pointed out, I think it's important for corporate organizations to realize that and make that happen. Around this part, everybody's waiting for the first set of people to do it. And I'm sure if Wando goes ahead and shows that example with one or two other organizations that have the same principles, I'm sure other organizations might follow.
Well, I think you have said what I'm taking, particularly with regard to the need for having collaboration, because that is the only way at the end of the day, and I think that is how we can leverage on our activity at the same time, make achieve maximum impact. So somebody talked about why government is not a challenge. I believe that this is purely kind of a public initiative towards public goods. So except probably at the level of you probably registering your program and things like that. So it is, I don't think government is a factor in this particular case. So thank you very much.
So most of what was said was comments, not really questions, but I guess one of the things was about collaboration. In the field of philanthropy, actually collaboration in Nigeria is relatively easy because it's Thelma and I. And a few other small organizations. And the T.Y. Danjuma Foundation and the Tony Elumelu Foundation, we focus on very, very different things sort of thematically, but at a higher level, we collaborate to build philanthropy in Nigeria, across Africa, and so on. So there's different ways you work together, and then there's different things you kind of do on your own. I think someone was talking about the private-private partnerships. I think we could also have PPP, meaning public-private philanthropy partnerships. Because again, I think, and that's sort of what I was saying about catalytic philanthropy, it doesn't really matter who you work with, you just got to work with everybody who wants to be part of it. And whether that's a company, whether it's their sort of corporate philanthropy or foundation, or whether it's a private philanthropy or it's the government, whatever, if you're all focused on the same cause, you should all work together. And I think that's sort of the underlying principle of catalytic philanthropy. There was something about what the government needs to do. In all of this space, the government just needs to, there needs to be legislation to incentivize corporates and to incentivize individuals to give in a bigger way, in a bigger sort of coordinated fashion, so that when a company gives or when an individual gives, they get some kind of break for that. But then by getting that break, you also need to be regulated to make sure you're using it responsibly. Because basically then philanthropy money becomes, it's really diverted tax money in the end. And so you have a higher responsibility to the country in which you're operating to give back responsibly. So it is a two-way thing. And again, when that legislation does happen, it has to be all-encompassing so that it makes sense for the CSR organization, it makes sense for philanthropy, and it makes sense across the board, whether you're giving the money away or whether you're doing impact investment. So it has to be comprehensive and not just focus on one of those areas.
Okay, thank you. I think let me just come in here because the speaker mentioned the Danjuma Foundation. Like Wiba said, you know, essentially what we found, we talk a lot, ourselves and the Tony Elumelu Foundation, and a lot of that is driven by personal relationships. It's unfortunate, but that's the truth. Philanthropy at the moment, or social investment at the moment, is who you know at the moment in Nigeria. It's different across Africa, and since it's an African context, it's important to highlight that, because I may not pronounce it correctly, but I know in South Africa they have something called Untayalo that they do annually, and it brings together corporates as well as private foundations. A very healthy exercise. They have a similar thing in Kenya, but we don't have anything like that in West Africa as a whole. And this is why meetings like this are important. So we talk a lot, and then we try and look for areas that we can work in, bearing in mind that our goals are different. We do impact investment, but on a much smaller scale, because we realize that to deal with the immediate problems, grants are also an easier way to do it. Then we have to look at the downside of wanting to collaborate. People are very suspicious when you say you want to collaborate. And I think we have to be very real about that. People point to the very, in my opinion, mundane things like whose logo is bigger in the collaboration. And it's very alien to me. I have no reference point for this type of thing. So coming to Nigeria and working and seeing that that is the focus undermines the collaboration. Having said that, it is happening. People are getting together and we're having conversations and we're starting to look at ways to collaborate. One of the points you mentioned that is important, you said O&O could be working with an MTM foundation. I think that's O&O, okay. So that's the brand, you see. That's a very important point. For ourselves, we do have some private partners. We have an excellent relationship with the Guarantee Trust Bank, and we do projects together, and some engineering firms. It's still very little, I have to admit. But hopefully with things like this, we can improve that. Yes. Let me take the three hands I saw. The lady, yeah, Dayton, can't say the lady. Okay, in the middle, and then the two other ladies there. Yes.
Thank you, Telma. My name is Dayton Ogwo. I work with the After School Graduate Development Center, and we're a social enterprise focused on Nigerian graduates. Dr. Weber, when you started, you talked about